And now, a word from our sponsors. The Oyster Recovery Partnership is the nonprofit expert in Chesapeake Bay oyster restoration. Oyster Recovery Partnership has planted more than 9 billion oysters on 3,000 acres of reef and recycled more than 250 bushels of shell. Everyone benefits from a healthy Chesapeake Bay. Poor water quality and declining habitats can be reversed. Oysters are the answer. Pescavore is packaged in a convenient single serving size with no refrigeration required until after opening. Pescavore is the perfect, healthy, and delicious snack for those on the go. Pescavore, tuna that travels. Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your oyster ninja. I'm here with a Brooklyn. Is that
Yep,
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
I'm here with a Brooklyn native, a oyster native, uh, a good dude, Mr. Moody, the real Mother Shucker.
What up, yo?
What's going on, man? How you feel?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on the show.
For sure. So, for everybody who doesn't know, the real Mother Shucker, I don't know how you don't know the real Mother Shucker. I mean, the guy's on the TV screen, blowing up the TV screen, high on the hog and everything in between. Hey, so for people who don't know you, man, tell them what the real Mother Shucker is and what he's about.
Basically, I'm just a normal Brooklyn dude, like how
All
you
right, start right
said.
there. Start right there. Cut it out. Cut it out. Normal Brooklyn. Nah, just joking. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's the whole thing. I'm just a normal Brooklyn dude. I'm from the area, like you said. I'm from third generation, actually, from New York. Second generation Brooklyn. I'm from Crown Heights area, the area that I'm trying to, really help to take off with this oyster thing. And where I'm actually located at in terms of my locations right now is in Sunset Park in the Industry City complexes that they're developing out there. That's where my home base is. But like I said, I have a pop-up shop in Bed-Stuy and one in Clinton Hill that I'm doing right now. And my mom's neighborhood where I grew up at is always home base, where I'm looking to constantly do more and more and more expansion.
So I do know. I do know. I'm loving it, man. So the real Mother Shucker is an oyster cart. Are you an oyster bar yet?
Yeah, no, we're so the model is basically a cart. I started up the first oyster cart in New York since about 1927, when oystering harvesting oysters from the harbor became illegal. So selling oysters on the cart um, became illegal as well. And so what I'm basically doing is something that used to be commonplace in the city. The oysters were harvested from the New York City harbor and all the local area and sold downtown, sold it on the streets in the city off of carts, similar to how we have like hot dog carts, like how New York City is famous for hot dog carts and for pretzels. Back in the day, it wouldn't have been hot dogs and pretzels they would have been selling. That would have been actually kind of uh, more high end than an oyster during that time period. The oyster was the common people's food because, as you know, but not as too many other people probably don't know that are inside of the oyster world fully. Oysters is one of those types of foods that once it starts to be prevalent, it's basically an unstoppable food source. So it was so much of an abundance of oysters here in New York City. New York City was the oyster capital of the world. And we used to sell oysters on carts. But like I said, 1927, they illegalized harvesting oysters due to the fact that people were catching typhoid from eating the oysters out of the ocean, which is a really messed up thing because, right previous to that had been the Great Depression. We were coming out of world wars and people were farming and factorying. People were factorying a lot, producing a lot out of New York and dumping inside the ocean. And so as a result of that, all of the oysters that they had harvested out without replenishing back in the population and without any kind of regulations on the waterways, those oysters was getting people mad sick, So 1927, they legalized selling oysters on a cart. Since then, there hasn't been no oyster carts in New York City, but since it's such a relevant part of our history, it was something that was really important for me to bring back out, Now, in the format of how I do it, like you said, I'm not a bar, and I don't technically need to or want to be a bar at this stage in the game. What my mission is to bring oysters to people who don't necessarily have them or have access to them, or just haven't really thought about them as being an option previous to now, is to be able to bring my business to your business and be able to utilize your brick and mortar restaurant to make my cart not illegal. So I get a standing location and you get an additional business, Really what I do, I'm in the business of oyster real estate,
I like that. We got to coin that term right there. Oyster real estate.
I'm in the business of oyster real estate.
My man. Yeah. So, first of all, appreciate the history for rolling down memory lane. But I'm still curious, man. I'm still curious. So how does a Brooklyn kid find out about oysters, want to do oysters? Like, how'd you get in this world?
So like I was saying, New York City was the oyster capital of the world, So it's never been something that's been out of the realm of things that could be on the dinner table for me and my family. The Blue Point oyster is probably the most branded name in terms of oysters and oystering, When I moved to Louisiana was the first time that I had gotten an introduction to oysters. And after that was when, I was shucking oysters in Florida.
Okay.
And Florida, really, the oysters down there were Gulf Coast oysters, So for all intents and purposes, they were probably even a little bit less the flavor profile of the Louisiana oysters that I was shucking for my preference, just based off of the region that we were in, being a little bit even more southern than the Louisiana oysters that we had, and a little bit more into that tropical environment where they were just kind of reproducing so much, and the shell and the body and the flavor profile, everything about it for a wild caught oyster was just not my preference, But learning about oysters in New York, it was always available. Everything in New York is available. That's the beauty of being a New Yorker, is like every culture, every food, every financial background is available right here, So every class of whatever that you're looking for, I've had access to, but it just wasn't necessarily something I was looking for, and access to it on a poor people level or at a high end level. I could go to Coney Island as a kid, or could go to, fine dining on Lexington Avenue and go eat the best of the best, or eat what the common person had previously. Yeah, coming up from Brooklyn, I had always had access to oysters and to fine dining. All of the different kinds of caviar and everything is available. It's just about whether or not you're going to be the one to go and purchase it. If you're the one that's looking for it. So I was aware of different foods. I definitely wasn't aware of East Coast versus West Coast, or Even the difference between really an oyster and a clam or a mussel, you know, I mean, I knew what they looked like, but in terms of flavor profiles and stuff like that, or how to open them or how the preparation was for them, I was oblivious, you know.
What was
I
your
had
first?
seen them before on the tables. I see them when I go out to the fancy places with my dad and stuff, you know. We
Yeah.
pass by the table, but we ain't eating that stuff. We might reach for the lobster and the crab and the shrimp, but we're not reaching for them shells. That's out, you know.
Yeah. So what
And it
was your?
wasn't because it wasn't something that we wouldn't do. It's just exposure at different time periods, you know.
I can understand that. Um, what made you
Maybe
think
not
that?
the clams and the mussels so much, but definitely the oysters.
What made you think that a oyster cart would work in New York?
I already knew it would. That's what I was trying. I was what the whole point was is that first off, uh, the city started off as being the oyster heart, you know. So this is one of those types of places where there is foot traffic, you know, where I can't kind of go and post up on the side of the road selling like it used to be back in the days. People would be selling like African oils and whatever they little table was on the street. But these people were famous for their little tables. Everybody knew where the table was, and they would come buy something, you know, because you got foot traffic out here.
Right.
So the cart is going to work here. There's visibility, you know, and then with the background inside of the history of it was really where I started to fall in love with it, you know, with the whole pinstripes and paperboy cap and button down blazer, and it's just sexy, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's super sexy, and like it's the best aesthetic. You coming in, bringing the whole party. People already getting open when you come through with the oysters. Now I'm the bartender. I got the little suspenders and the bow tie.
Right. Right. And what's crazy is, you know, I watch a lot of your content, your videos on Instagram. I'm like, yo, if that's not sexy, I don't know what is.
Right.
It's the way you, first of all, you shucking the oysters, and then you're presenting the oysters, and you dressing them up, and you talking people through, you walking them through the process. I mean, my thing is, and I always tell people fall in love with stories, and your whole process is a story, and you do it over and over and over again. You know what I mean? So just talk a little bit about your process and your thought process behind the process.
All right. So basically, I'm going to break it down to you in terms of what I'm looking to do right now, as opposed to what I'm already doing. Basically, it's like this. You know, when I started this, it was the type of a thing where it was kind of out of a desperation. You know what I'm saying? I came into Oysters initially working on sustainable living community that I had gone to go leave to go be a part of. I was trying to change my life around, be a part of a program that was going to be building up. My background previous to that was nonprofit sector work. So I had no experience doing food industry work, but I knew how to cook. I went there as a chaperone. I ended up cooking for the lady as like her sous chef on her farm for like over 40 kids that would be out there all the time. And we'd be hooking up these gumbos and etouffees and jambalayas and just cooking our butts off out there, off the natural stuff that she had in the area a lot too, you know? So I learned a lot of different cuisine, but then when I'm left directly from there, I moved out to Florida to go be with a young lady who I had been in a relationship with, and I wanted to give it a first, you know, a fair shot this time. You know, New York is hard on the rent, you know, you 21, 22, 23, it's hard to pay rent for you and your lady and be able to handle that if it's not going to be just a little room that you're already sharing with 3 roommates and you got to handle, you understand what I'm saying? So
No,
out
I
here in
definitely got
Florida,
you.
come on, man. Out here in
Yeah.
Florida, I was paying the same $800 to $600 a month for the whole apartment, the whole house. Sometimes house. The last place I was staying was a house for $650.
Right.
It wasn't on the beach side this time, but it was a house.
Right.
That I had a relationship with the church next door and the guy who ran the farmers market next across from me. So I was just out there in Florida trying to get it, you know. I didn't know nothing about oysters, but that was the thing that led me into was desperation, just needing to have work, going into fine dining restaurant and being like, I'm gonna work my way up to the top, you know? And I'm gonna start off in this pantry and do this raw bar and then move up to hot app and then move up to saute and then move up to grill. And y'all gonna pay me whatever I want to when I come up in here. And then realizing one day, well, I finally get to go training on my grill station, you know, that my sous chef comes in there and he doesn't even want to do the grill. He wants to go do the oysters, goes down into the oyster station and stabs himself in the middle of the hand. And so now I'm the person that's on call to come and do the grill, and I got to do the oysters also because nobody else could do oysters.
Right.
So after that, I realized I was like, you know, I love food service, but in terms of what I want to do in food industry, I'm only going to do one thing. I'm going to do the grill, or I'm going to do the oysters, or I'm going to do bacon, but I'm not going to do every single task inside of the kitchen as my desire. I'm not trying to be the sous chef or the chef anymore. Now I just want to do one thing, and I'm the chef of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the beginning of my model is in terms of doing this, was going out to Florida. I started a little a cart called Tiki Taco while I was out there. Tiki Taco's gonna come back, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, Tiki Taco was my little portable PVC taco, tiki bar, you know? And I would ride around to the farmer's market and I would go and try to sell tacos at like 7 o'clock in the morning at the farmer's markets, because you could buy in for like $15, $20 to be able to come and set up your booth and go sell, you know?
Yeah.
But it just got me on the mold, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for right now, what Mother Shucker is supposed to turn into is an educational tool, you know? Basically, they put you in oysters as an afterthought, you know? And it's kind of the way how it's presented. It's as if you don't know already, then you're not going to know. Right. And that's the way how it's served in the industry. That's how it's served in the world right now. And that's basically what like my mission is to kind of change, is to kind of take it away from a job that the dishwasher does that's sold by the server or done by the shucker in front of the staff, in front of everybody, and sold by the server. Meantime, the talking and the handling and everything is done by the shucker, who's technically at that position of bartender, and someone who's very high skilled, knowledgeable about, you know, sales in terms of what this product is, was kind of overlooked, you know?
Yeah.
So it's to kind of try to put the control back in the hands of the shucker, make us back the fishmonger, the bartender, the show, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Give us back the seat that we have in terms of, you know, coming through, making the space exciting, you know, providing the information for people so they don't just think that they always eating Blue Points every time that they go somewhere to go eat, so they can be informed of what the different oyster is, why they're getting, you know, so that the shells on the oysters aren't going to be just something that's purchased out of necessity because somebody's trying to get cheap oysters, but we're purchasing oysters that have been put through a different kind of tumbling process and different harvesting process and top quality. So we're not just losing, because we care about losing our product, as opposed to exec chef who really doesn't even know what's going out, but he just knows that those food costs is either high or low.
Right.
And dollar happy hour's got to be dollar happy hour, you know, or he's going to lose business. So for us, it's like there's no dollar happy hours, you know. But my model right now is to try to build it up to a nonprofit level, basically, not basically, literally, where I'm bringing my staff will be students from schools, you know, straight to the cart. After I'm going to be going to the schools to go talk to the students about New York City oyster history, talk about my background, the African American background in oystering and whaling and maritime in general. the importance of the oyster to the environment in terms of, not just climate issues, which is like a huge just, like
Yeah.
that's good enough right then,
Yeah.
right there and there, then and there alone, but geographically, to erosion, to property damage, to controlling nurseries for wildlife conservation, and the impacts that those things can have beyond just a climate, beyond the fact that we can turn acreage, miles and miles and miles of acreage, into profitable, but also healing farmland
Yeah.
for the environment through oysters, through seaweed, but the oysters specifically, we have access to a food source that is making an impact on the world, as people are not only eating it, but just being involved in the consumption of it, And so that's the first place, is to just inform these kids, get the kids knowledgeable about, hey, maybe you vegan, maybe you love meat, maybe you allergic to shellfish, but this is what oysters do for the environment. This is what you can see happen for your world in the next 50 years,
Right.
if you inform your friends and inform your family and do your part in terms of this thing that we're doing,
I always preach, well, not preach, but I always emphasize the importance of opening kids' minds early to aquaculture and the waterways and history and self-history and all of that stuff, because man, the earlier we plant seeds, man, the greater things they can do. The greater things they can do. I always say, I can just only imagine, what I would be able to do if I took things a little serious, earlier. So, that's why now I'm doing my part to spread, stories like yours out into the world, and hopefully, it'll connect with somebody. I wanted to ask you though, so right now, as far as like shell recycling and stuff, is there a system set up in New York for shell recycling?
Right. So here, the company that gives me the legs, like I was saying in the very beginning, we all in New York has such a lovely spot because we always at the forefront of what is available resource-wise, So there's a company here called the Billion Oyster Project. After I got back from Florida, my first job doing oysters specifically here was at this very, very important restaurant called Maison Premier. Maison is here in Brooklyn, and they had like 30 different kind of oysters on deck at all times while I was working there, So it was the first type of place where I went to go shuck, and it wasn't like they had one oyster for happy hour that I had to, speed shuck through 300 of them for 1 hour, and then after the rest of the day, it was dead over there because the oysters went back up to $4 or $5, and they were gross in the first place, and they had me squeezing squeezy bottles of salt water on pre-shuck plates. Yeah.
Oh man,
hotel
you telling
yeah.
secrets now.
Yo, come on,
secrets
man. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was gross. I thought that people that ate it were gross. I really thought it was just like, nah, you're a heathen. Like I know what you eat. It's dirty, sloppy, slimy, is nasty, you nasty. You just throw in salt, you don't even care. Don't tell me about it. You don't care, And so that's the difference between, for me, what my experience was and to what I want people to enjoy. Because I care. So I want to give you something that I cared about, So I know for a fact that you're going to at least have a good experience the first time. Not what I was getting all of them other times, or giving to people all of those times unknowingly, shucking them, didn't care about shells, didn't care about flipping, didn't even really know if I was taking the abductor off fully or not, didn't care if I was or not, You'll probably get half of them with the abductor off, half of them with them sloppily taken off at best, never flipped the oyster, didn't even know that that was a thing to be able to flip an oyster. No different styles of shucking to approach a different hinge so that I would do less damage and lose less product and all that kind of stuff like that. That was never even a part of the thought. It was literally just get this nasty stuff out that nobody else could open up because there's a line of people building up, And I was
so
good.
that happened. That happened at the Maison when you started appreciating it.
I'm not going to even name drop the restaurant in Florida.
No. I mean, when you started appreciating,
that was at Maison. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's
Maison.
what I was getting at.
Yeah, Maison was a place that they had 30 different oysters, and I was like, oh, snap, this is dope. And then I tried my first oyster, and I liked it. It was from Canada. It was Prince Edward Island, and I was like, oh, snap. And I tried one from, I tried an Olympia and a Kushi. Yeah, I tried a Kushi and an Olympia, and I was just like, yo, this is crazy.
How is this creme de la creme?
So crazy. After I tried Bay Soleil, Saint Simon, all of them different, the ones.
I was
like, oh,
the ones, top notch.
Oh, I was like, oh,
right. Here we are.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me step back. Let me reverse that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, look at my shirt. Is it new product?
Come on, man. Don't do me like that.
I got you. I got to get a new manufacturer because Printify is messing up. But
look at that. Look at that, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you, bro.
I gotta step my game up.
Man, shut up, man. You the oyster ninja, bro.
I hear you. It sounds
you the oyster
good.
ninja. You was the first one. You was the first one out here inspiring. For real talk. You know what I'm saying? The first one. But initially, like I was saying, my whole entire thing was the history behind it.
Yeah.
I got into Maison. They had me doing the paperboy. I wasn't wearing it, but that's what, the aesthetic is like suspenders with the coiffed 1800s hairstyles and, the hardwood floors and the hardwood shoes and all of that, you know? And it was really a dope experience because it was something that I would not have even put myself into if it wasn't for the fact of me wanting to step away from the other kind of kitchens that I had been working in.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I had been really trying to chase getting on a line in a really, really expensive spot and being one of the top 3 guys in there, just fighting with these 3 guys so I could eventually become a sous chef somewhere, or 6 guys, That's basically what I was trying to do. But after I got into the oyster thing, I was really like, I don't want to do that no more. I want to do this. I just want to do oysters alone because the majority of the places that I'm coming into, I'm the most capable person that they got coming in there. Right. And then I didn't even care about it. And then I got trained at Maison. I started to love the oysters. And then I started to study and I started finding about the history, the big oyster and just studying up about all of it, Thomas Downing and whaling history and piecing 2 and 2 together about, my own background, our heritage of basically eminent domain, where it's like, oh yeah, obviously we're coming through this city, free people building up Washington, D.C., building up New York City, building up all of these northern areas that previously didn't even have real cities until somebody came through harvesting of natural resources, Unless it was a plantation and you were independently wealthy, wealth was built through natural resources or through individuals, You was either a doctor to somebody or you was collecting in some sort of natural resource and selling it and making yourself, a stake, making yourself a real actual financial claim to build a property, to get a post office, to build a township, Right. So that's how our stuff got started. Was we would build up these little areas, build up these towns, and then they would become the Hamptons. They'll become Staten Island. They will become, all of these areas, which was a history that I was familiar with from my childhood, from my grandparents and all that stuff like that. But you really couldn't put two and two together in terms of certain kinds of things,
Right.
And it starts to click like, oh yeah, I remember we were all doctors and lawyers and businessmen, all of that stuff while we were building up our churches, our AME churches and our townships. And then banks came through to quote unquote come help. And that's when you couldn't even get a loan for your own properties because we didn't own them banks anymore,
Right.
And in order for, now the city hall looks different. The city hall is different, and your little shack can't stay here anymore because there's been a bank that came through and financed a whole bunch of development, and your crib looks crazy, and you can't even keep your little shack here no more because it's eminent domain.
Your story sounds a lot similar to a lot of coastal cities. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
It's sounding real similar to the stories that my grandmother told me. I'm from the Eastern Shore near Chigatig. It sounds a lot. I'm talking about like literally the story is lining up, and I'm like, yo, this sounds real familiar. But yeah, no doubt. Sad, real sad, man. But all we can do is go forward and try to build up and build something that's gonna stay and last and teach the generation behind us to keep going. Let's talk, because you taught history on High on the Hog also. You want to talk a little bit like how that even became, like how did it become a thing, like the whole opportunity?
High on the Hog?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, just New York City, like I was telling you about the cart, somebody had asked me how I knew that the cart was going to work previously to that. It was funny too, because I had been trying for years with a box to try to do the pop-up shop, and I would go to different locations. There would even be bartenders that was friends of mine, bar owners that was friends of mine. And I come through like, yo, let me do my pop-up shop. They'd be like, oh yeah, you can do it one day, once a month. And I'd be like, dude, I can't buy oysters and whole oysters for a month, bro. Right. Like, I gotta just give them away at the end of the night. Like, what good is that? At least give me one once every week. You know what I'm saying? Once a week. It's a good product. It's not like I'm bringing you crap product. I'm making your spot sexy for the night. Like, come on, hook me up. Couldn't get it off the ground. I guess either I wasn't convincing enough, or I wasn't trying hard enough, or whatever the hell it was. That didn't get off the ground until I changed my name to Mother Shuckers and built a cart, And the cart was predicated on me having a box truck company at that time period, So I had to have a box truck to be able to move my carts from location to location. Now this cart that I built is smaller, so it's collapsible, could go into the back of a minivan, But basically that was the first step, was being able to find, building up the cart to be able to basically just convince people that it was a good idea, it was a solid idea. As soon as I got the cart up, then somebody wrote a newspaper article about it for this thing called Edible Brooklyn, And after the Edible Brooklyn thing, now I'm going to go pick up oysters from my oyster guy, and then I hear a conversation going on at the purveyor that I was using at that time period about me, And then I come through, and then they're like, well, we were going to do a cart, but we just know it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? It's like, too bad for that,
Right.
Sorry y'all missed out on that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Y'all should have did it. You should have gone for it. you know? So then the next time is later on in the wintertime, I got my cart packed away, and somebody who had passed me on the street with the cart, had come into the restaurant that I was doing my thing at, and they just stopped me at the bar, and we were just talking, and they was just like, you know, have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of that? What made you want to get into the cart thing? Have you ever heard of Thomas Downing? And then I was just sitting there just like, and then at the end, she's like, you want to be on a TV show? I was like, hell yeah. And that was that, you know what I'm saying? It's just New York is like, it's like that. It's on that street stuff, you know?
Man.
It's street level stuff.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. That's what's up. That's a great story. That's a great story. But that's where things happen, man. When it's meant to be, it's gonna happen regardless, you know? No matter.
You know, they always say being prepared. That was the biggest part, was just she came to ask me and I knew the information. That was really it.
Right.
You know?
That's what's up, man. Is that the biggest day for Mother Shuckers? Or in your personal opinion, what's the biggest day for Mother Shuckers so far? Like
the biggest what?
The biggest day. Like your biggest
moment. The biggest day?
Because some people hold, you know, and not to say, I mean, I would say
for me, the biggest one just happened.
Okay.
And it still is a beginning, but it's like, so all right, there's been a few biggest days, but they've been in different kind of capacities, you know? So,
break it down. I'm here for it all.
All right, I did another recording not recently, about a year ago, almost immediately after, for a thing that was supposed to come out on Hulu. Dude took my concept, changed his own episode, and removed me from the episode.
Come on, stop playing.
I swear to God.
They ain't doing that type of stuff out here.
I have footage from his production team that they posted, tagged my name in it, because they was expecting me to be in the episode, that they had to take down because I'm not in the episode. And not only am I not in the episode, but he took everything that, because the direction that he was supposed to have me speaking was along the Thomas Downing lines. The direction that I started talking about was along the lines of food, the future of food, you know? So just from what I'm saying alone right here, without getting too spiteful on another recorded,
I feel you.
You know, thing, that happened, and that was supposed to be like, boo, 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 you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so to be in front of that person after this, to be like kind of having a one-on-one, was like a super high next level high, mentally and emotionally, for me, for the whole thing, you know what I mean? But then to get that taken away was kind of like, it was supposed to be the same kind of like kick in the pants, depression, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then like Industry City is so big in terms of just the fact that some place that's like that, a place that has Net Stadium, Costco, the Baba Baby, Save on Saks, all of these huge names that they have working with them and underneath them. All of these crazy names. That's just like the tip of the iceberg of crazy names that they work with, that called me up and was like, yo, we like what you're doing. We want you to come be a part, you know? For that to happen and still to be there 2.5 years later, regardless of COVID, regardless of anything.
Right.
You know, just to have that happen in terms of a relationship, that has been like, you know, huge in terms of just proving a concept to me of this thing being able to really be good and great, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's like, you know, for me, the last thing that was really big and good was two things really. One was a shucking lesson that I did recently for a hotel, for the Ace Hotel. And then it was a school program that we did, you know, for Brooklyn Collaborative, where it was just like a in the school talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why both of those was so big for me is because the way how they were formulated, there was more designed around a talk, more designed around education than me shucking or my normal work mode, you know?
Right.
So for me, that was really, really another great proof of concept is now I'm not pushing a cart.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm gonna talk to my kids about them pushing a cart, but you know, not pushing a cart, just coming in and talking about the information and that being received well.
So what's next? What's next?
Next is I'm working on a food campaign called Eat Your Oysters. I've got like 3 out of 5 5 of the commercials, or I think, or 2 or 3 of them recorded already. But they are basically all themed around encouraging people of different backgrounds to eat oysters. I'm trying to get that done by the summertime so that I can be launching it out for the summertime, and try to really, you know, make New York City take some responsibility for promoting oysters in and of itself, as a food source, a viable food source. And then hopefully with that, you know, getting, I would like to get I'd like to get a statewide campaign going and push it up to a nationwide campaign, you know, and then obviously an international campaign, but one where we're promoting oysters to people who have never had oysters, people who are in Middle America, where it's like we don't think that this is a thing. Where would we even get oysters from? You know, I don't think I would like it if I tried it, you know?
Right.
Get it oysters to a foundation that could come to somebody like you, Oyster Ninja, in DC, and get you bushels donated so that you could go out there and go to, you know, a school and continue a conversation and do the same thing, you know, and try to get this Eat Your Oysters campaign kind of, you know,
That's
really going.
That sounds cool.
That's what I'm working on my end right now. It's like, you know, without blabbing my lips too much, like I always do, you know, trying to get the oysters into more of a common man food to a large extent without changing the echelon or the, you know, without declassing it. I want to get it out there, you know. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of things suffer once mass demand is up, then quality kind of goes down, you know. But even still, depending on, like I'm saying, like certain factors being regional, I can't even see it being plausible that things could go too far left, you know.
Right.
We are shuckers. We've seen the shittiest Malpec, and it's still good.
Yeah. It gets the job done. It gets the job done.
You know,
talking about not so great oysters. No, I'm just joking.
We can go into it. I'm not scared. That's their fault. That's not my fault.
Well, oh man, we'll say that for another episode. Oh man, that would be cool though. Shuckers Roundtable.
Ooh, cool. Start getting into some.
Oh man, yeah, get in all kinds of trouble.
Yo, I think we should have one just Me, you, and all the other black shuckers that you can find
Oh, you
that
talking
have
about
been
me and
doing
you?
this thing for a while.
You talking about me and
Yeah,
you? Just me and you.
just talking about.
No, I'm joking. It's a few of us out there, especially down south.
Yo, come on.
Oh, I'm with it.
There's a bunch of us, man.
Is it?
And we're all like spread out, isolated, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, you help me round the people up and we can make it happen. That's
Bet.
what Zoom is for.
Bet.
What I wanted to ask you real quick though, because I ain't gonna hold you up, man. It's been a little bit. What is what's your way to get a non-believer to eat oysters? I know you got to come across the people. I mean,
yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
My first thing that I always tell people is, first of all, I didn't like oysters, you know? So that's kind of a good help for majority of people who don't want to try it. Is like, you know, they're like, oh, that's just because that's just something that is not, it's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's a general position that they'll have before they've even given it a taste, you know? So my thing is, for one good thing for getting somebody to try oyster for the first time is to just get them to lick it, just taste the liquor, you know? So in that, you can taste the region and you'll get a slight profile of what to expect, you know? Then the next thing is the belly, the back of the oyster is usually the most difficult part to get through in terms of chewing it, you know? I always tell everybody, never swallow your oyster, always chew your oyster. If you gotta swallow it, then you're just not enjoying it. You're just spending money on food that you're not really getting to enjoy. So what I will say is another good cheat is to cut from the abductor muscle and leave off the belly for the first timer. So all they get is the scallop and the front of the wings, you know, the front
the gills,
lips.
Yeah,
gills.
Yeah.
And then leave the belly out, and that way you can just taste the front part without having to get too much of the whole flavor profile. If you can't handle that, then you definitely just don't like oysters, right? You know?
I've never heard that
okay. Before. I mean, I've done literally like a virgin's tasting.
Yeah.
Where recently we had like 12 virgins come up, and each one of the people that came had never had an oyster before. So it was just back to back to back to back on camera, 12 people that had never tried an oyster before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's another thing I got coming right now, but not really at liberty to talk about it.
No doubt. What's crazy is I've been wanting to do, it was like I want to say it was BuzzFeed. Maybe it wasn't BuzzFeed, but it was somebody out there that had did something similar. I was like, man, I could do that. I could
well, we're gonna talk about what my idea is, so you don't end up doing my thing and then
no, we're not. We're not gonna talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, we ain't copying off of each other. But the good thing about it is, you know what, Moody, I ain't doing this shit, man. I'm not doing this shit. You got me cussing on my podcast, man.
I'm quick.
Well, I tell you what, Moody. No hard feelings. No. No hard feelings. Because one thing about the Oyster Ninja, I do not care. Hey, I'm out here trying to get it.
you better keep on. You know what I'm saying, nigga?
Oh, man.
I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm with it.
My man, yo, I appreciate you taking time out your night, your day, man, talking to the Oyster Ninja. Yo, I love what you're doing, man. I'm gonna tell you, I love what you're doing, brother.
I appreciate you, man.
To see a brother out here doing it, and is knowledgeable about what he's doing. A great oyster shucker, a great oyster personality, which is all huge, which is needed to be an oyster shucker. And you got it up and down, man.
Good looking, bro.
I'm so happy with all the success that you're having, and I wish you more. Because the thing
I
about it
appreciate
is,
you, man.
if one person can do it, everybody can do it. And if we're all working together, then it's all gonna be great for everybody. It don't matter who get there, we all going.
That's
You know
what I'm
what I mean?
saying.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, no, I want this thing to go so much so that we change the demand for oysters in general. Just me, you, and the people who's already involved, that people know that oysters are the thing to do now. And then when they go to go look for it, when they are going to go look, they know who they gotta go look for.
exactly.
Because we've been doing it the whole damn time.
Yeah.
You know,
All right,
I'm trying to make it a turn up. I'm trying to make oysters a turn up and make it so that, you know, throw some respect on that oysters. You know what I'm saying?
Moody. Moody.
That's the second time I used that one.
Moody. Nah. No. Thanks for that. Hey, stay tuned for my Instagram reel. Yo, appreciate you. I needed that one. I needed some inspiration.
We out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? We out here inspiring each other. So don't you forget that shit neither, man. I appreciate you, bro. Because before, it was, like I said before, it was me out here. Only thing I seen when I looked for anything like me was you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The only thing I seen when I was looking for anything like me was you. Since you, I've seen a few other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But previous to that, the only thing I even seen was you.
Hey, man,
you know?
We're gonna push.
I was like, oh, thank God this nigga's not in Brooklyn. Thank God. We be bumping into each other everywhere, bro.
Stay tuned for the Oyster Ninja pop up in Brooklyn.
Yo, come on, come through. Come through. Because now they're clamoring for it.
Say again.
Now they're clamoring for it.
Sounds good, man.
The city wants black shuckers out here, you know? Oof. They want us to be out here. You know, the beautiful thing about New York is there's more than enough businesses. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different places. We can't be in the same place twice.
Right.
You know, or we could be in the same place at the same damn time.
Yeah. And tear it up. Could you imagine that party?
I got two Spanish food restaurants that's next door to each other.
Right.
Down the block from me.
That's crazy.
Both got food buffet style in the window.
Yeah.
And literally people just go inside of, the line doesn't stop in either one of them stores.
I'm sure I'm gonna listen back to this recording while I'm editing and be like, I should have asked that, and I should have asked that, and why didn't I ask that, and why did I say that?
I'm sure I'm supposed to be asking some damn questions too right now.
It's all good. I mean, if you got something, I'll answer it. But hey, like I said, I ain't gonna hold you up. I appreciate you. I know you got your dinner, and I got another drink to get. And
I just wanted to ask you what got you into doing this.
The money that I'm not making. Nah, just joking. So actually, it was the money. So my dad shucked oysters also. I'm from the Eastern Shore. From near Sugartig, and my dad he used to compete, shucking oysters.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, so he didn't raise me, but once we connected, he was like, man, this dude is me and I'm him. You know what I mean? It was just we connected like that. And
so wait, you was already shucking oysters when you met your pops, or
no? No, I was not shucking. I ain't know. I mean, my grandmother shucked oysters, but I didn't know how to shuck. I saw her shucking oysters, at the kitchen table for dinner and stuff like that. But I didn't know how to shuck. So he taught me how to shuck as a way to get extra money. Mm-hmm. So we would do like these oyster and bull roasts. And from there, I got deployed to Afghanistan, and when I came back, I didn't really want a real job anymore. I just wanted to chill and relax. So I knew I liked shucking oysters, so I started looking for shucking jobs, and I found a job in DC at Rappahannock. And once I started working at Rappahannock, I was perpetrating my tail off. I was perpetrating. I was saying I was doing this, doing that. And that build up, because I've always had, I don't want to say a hustler's mentality, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But like I've always been able to make a dollar, and I've always
make it till you make it.
Yeah, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So basically, I was telling the people at the bar, I was like, "Hey, yeah, I do oyster and wine pairings. Didn't know nothing about wine. Of course, I knew about my oysters, but I'm like, it's got to be simple. You put an oyster,
right?
You put some wine, put it together. Okay, boom." So I did. So I ran into this lady. She's like, "Oh yeah, I got a group of friends. We have dinner every I think it was like once a month or once a week or something." And she was like, "I would love to have you there and do an oyster and wine pairing." So I got my oysters. I think they supplied the wine, and broke it down real Barney style. Taught them how to shuck. Taught them how to pair oysters with wine, which we was all learning at the same time, but they didn't know that. And after that, because it was a hit, I started taking it more serious. And I started the Instagram, and once I hit Instagram, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. I started running into other oyster farmers, and just finding out that there were other oyster personalities out there. And I just did it. Man. I just kept doing it, connecting with the right people. And of course, having my wife behind me to support me. And finally, I stayed with Rappahannock a year or 2 or 3 or something like that. And I just stepped out on my own and started SS Shucking and kept going, man. Word of mouth. And, DC is like prime time for oysters. And I feel like I thought then that, oysters was in the beginning stages. But really that was in the pre-baby stages.
Yeah.
We're still in the beginning days.
Baby.
Yes, this is just starting. That's why I say there's plenty of room for all of us out here.
Oh my God. It's this thing is so big that we're gonna be fighting with contracts with BP. if niggas play their cards right.
Look,
we're gonna be fighting with, you know what I'm saying? Nah, because it's fiscal, it's responsibility. You know what I'm saying? They got to start taking responsibility. The people who's the ones who's bringing the food to the table, we're supposed to be making them responsible. We're supposed to be heading up what doesn't exist yet to make these mofos plant back oysters. So not only do we got oysters, but so that the environment is clean. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's it.
And that's where the whole podcast part came from. Like, I started learning about stuff, and I wanted to share the stories.
Yeah.
I wanted to share the stories. I was listening to podcasts or trying to listen to podcasts, but it was dry, and it wasn't sticking. And I ran into a dude that had his podcast, and he's like, "Dude, I got podcasts. I can help you get this off the ground, and you can tell your story how you want to tell it."
Right.
And I stopped waiting for people to tell my story. Like when I first started Instagram, and I'm sorry, Moody, to make this about me, but when I first started,
that's what I wanted to hear though, because you answering a lot of questions for me too right now, So that's why I wanted to turn it into a big conversation, because I really got questions too.
Yeah. So when I first started Instagram, or when I first started social media, I was always tagging people, tag. Hey, I want this person to see. Let me tag this person. Maybe they'll see. And maybe if they see this, they'll think it's cool, and they'll want me to do something for them, or they'll hire me for something, or they'll put me on their show, or whatever. But I'm like, a couple years ago, I was like, what? Excuse my language. People, if you have kids around listening to this podcast, cover their ears real quick. I'm like, why the fuck am I waiting for somebody to tell my story? I can tell my own story. I don't have to wait for somebody to tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against, Netflix and Hulu or whoever, TBS, CBS, you know what I mean? NBC.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell my own story. Now it won't.
Well, the thing
it may
about
not
it was
get
with
all the
them, they're going to
eyes.
jack it anyway.
Yeah. It might not get all the eyes on it, but I can still tell my own story. That was my biggest thing, man. Like, why am I waiting for somebody telling my story? And the other lesson that I learned is don't tell myself no. Like, if I have an idea, I'm gonna try it.
Right.
Because somebody might pick up on it. Somebody might want.
They're going to jack it. And I gotta give it to you, bro, because like you be pressing.
Yeah, full court press.
You do.
Full court
press. You be pressing.
Yeah. Full court press, man.
You know?
I always tell people, when I see people doing good, I tell them, keep applying pressure.
Yeah.
We got to bust these pipes.
Yeah.
We got to bust these pipes, man. And that's my thing. That's my thing, man. I just try to stay motivated. I try not to get down when things don't go my way, and dealing with social media and algorithms and all that other stuff. All that. All I can do is keep going. I got to do my part. And hopefully on the other end they'll do their part. Hopefully I'll create content. Hopefully I'll create podcasts and YouTube videos that people will like and find value in. And as my preacher as a kid used to say, what do you say? I'm glad you considered it not robbery or something. You know what I mean? To come out. But like, seriously, like I want, and that's another thing. I try to make people who support me not feel like customers, but feel like family, like feel part of my dream. Your leg hurt, mama? Oh, I'll get it for you, mama. So, it's so when they come out to support, like they know that they're helping to build something that's bigger than me, So that's just let me get off my soapbox, man. Get off that little soapbox. I'm stepping down.
Nah, that's what the point is. I mean, for me, the thing that was and is the biggest eye opener for me, in terms of being self-employed and doing this thing, like back in the day when I first got out of high school, they was just trying to make you sell Cutco knives, And it was either like Dyson vacuum cleaner or Cutco knives. It was like the two top company names I could think of. That was like they had you going door to door, and they try to tell you, you can make a living for yourself. You could be a self-sustained young man and a big businessman, and you start off with selling knives, and then sooner or later you'll be you'll be a big salesperson.
Right.
And basically, they weren't telling you something that wasn't true, because you could see these older heads that was way down the line that had got it, and they were doing it. But the thing was that they could just prattle to you about the context, about the information, So for me, that's been what has been so massively important for me, has been being able to absorb as much information as I've received on this Oyster front, so that I can sit there and tell other people about what I've been learning, you know what I'm saying? And adding legitimacy to something that I felt myself was bullshit for a good long while, And now it's something something I'm proud to know and teach and be a part of, And me having my little one about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years now. Well, actually 3 years in about less than a month. But that was like the big eye opener for me. Like, I got somebody I want them to look up to me for oysters.
Preach. Come on now. Come on now. Is it Dustin here?
Oh, this little nigga. Oh, this little
Dust?
nigga looked up to me for oysters.
Right. Yeah. It's dusty in here, man. It's allergy season or something. I don't know what's going on here.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt, man. Yeah, we gonna make it, man. We gonna make it.
Yeah.
Yo, appreciate you. Where can the people
Appreciate
find you, man?
Just on Instagram, the Real Mother Shuckers. Just keep on plugging on the Instagram. The Real Mother Shuckers. On Instagram, the Real Mother Shuckers NYC is the website. And yeah, if you check the Instagram, you'll always see the new developments of what we got going on as things is happening. That's definitely the best way, is just the gram. Keep you updated on kind of a day-to-day or week by week at very minimum on what we got going on, you know. Besides that, like I said, we're in Industry City 3 days a week. We're at Tail Feather 1 day a week. And we've been at Eugene & Co., but due to the weather and volume sizes of the location, we're not doing there for right now, but we will definitely be back there in the summertime. Well, we'll most likely be back in the summertime. We've been there for about almost 4 years now. And you know, on and on, more. Like I said, different things that I'm not at the liberty to be able to discuss that's happening, different things that I am at the liberty, but I'm not going to, because I'm not going to jinx them, you know, and that's it, you know.
What's crazy is one of the questions that I wrote down, I got a bunch of questions I didn't even ask, so we'll save it for another time. But one of the questions was what can't you talk about?
What can't we?
No, what can't you talk about? Because like I know you always working on something, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna ask him what can't he talk about? But nah,
I talked about 2 of them already, but I can't. There's one I really can't. I talked about 2 of them already.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, nah. But you know, the real reason why I can't really talk about anything is just because it hasn't fully happened yet.
I get you.
You know, and I don't want to spell bad magic. You know what I'm saying? So
I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
On that note, let me ring this gong over here, light some incense.
Light the sage up.
Yeah. Ring my gong 3 times and alhamdulillah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And now, a word from our sponsors. Pescivore uses responsibly caught wild fish, marinated with real ingredients and naturally wood smoked for delicious flavor. Pescivore, tuna that travels.